Great. Okay. So, just in terms of trying to start this off at a very broad level, can I ask you just to compare and contrast what you see as cultures? Because obviously the theme of the conference is that Europe become a great place to work. If you were to compare the US and Europe, what do you think the US can learn from Europe and should take on, and vice versa? What do you think the other way around? Maybe you first, Olivier.
Okay, so I think we can learn a lot from the US on their ability to take big decisions rapidly. So global decisions rapidly.
So Europe is slow?
Not everybody in Europe is slow, but in France we are the master of the world in debate and in strikes, with the Greek people, of course, for the strikes. But when we think, when we debate, Americans have the propensity to have taken 5 decisions in the meantime. And maybe in the 5 decisions, 4 are good and 1 is not good. But at the end, I think we can learn from their ability to summarize and to think big and to take rapid decisions. Now, what can they learn from us is, I think, has to do with our history in this continent, where at 200 miles you have so different cultures and diversity that they don't understand. It's like between Paris and Brussels and London and Berlin and Munich and Rome and Athens. You know, it's not too far, but you don't convince people and learn and listen to people the same way. This diversity is an enormous opportunity, I think, for Europe, and they can learn from us on the power of diversity. Okay, so the power of diversity, the Americans thinking big and going faster, but maybe there's conflicts there, that if you want lots of collaboration, that slows down the process. Do you go mad with collaboration and then you miss the opportunities? Okay, Pascal, for you.
First of all, yeah, I agree with Olivier regarding France and Greece, strikes and all that. That's why in the European affairs, Greece and France are so close together in decision making. Second, regarding the differences between the US and Europe, I would highlight the flexibility that was coming from across the ocean, the Atlantic, the flexible hours that we can work. This is a concept that was developed in the US. Still, we have cultural issues. This is well accepted in the north, in Scandinavia, in the Nordics. Not so much in Southern Europe, but we are on the way this to be a norm, because we can unleash the power. We have the social cohesion, we have the social benefits. So people, in order to be engaged, they're looking towards this kind of things, flexible hours, because we have families, we have other obligations. So this is something that we can truly take advantage of, coming from across the Atlantic. On the other way, across the board, we have the social benefits that they still don't have in the States. And I would take as an example the maternity leaves, that it's not as strong and big as it's in Europe. There are only a few months in the US, and we know in Europe and mostly in the Nordics again, both a father and a mother can take, paternity or maternity leaves, which also shows the commitment of the company for the workers regarding their choices, regarding their personal lives.
Okay, so this speed piece is kind of important as to how fast we can move, how we do decision making all the way through. Frank, in the States, you can be fired on the day. In Europe, you can't. Is that a benefit to America because they can move fast? And is Europe slowed down, or is it just good culturally that we have a different way of actually working with people?
Okay, I haven't worked in the US. So, no, I think we need the balance, and we have that balance in Europe. And people need to have their rights, and people also need to be protected, because not all companies are acting like those companies which are here, really taking care of their people. So it needs to be on a balance. You can have, if you need to adjust your operations sometimes, and it might take too long, is a bit difficult from your financial side. But then you also got to stick to your people. Okay. So you asked more about the US. let me maybe come from the other side, coming from Asia now. So what is the main difference I observe now being back here just a couple of months? So I think one is what we have in Europe is much more creativity than we would see in many Asian countries. On the other side, in Asia, and especially Singapore, where I come from, the execution is by far better. So you need to get something done. It gets done on time. It's never late, and it's in perfect quality. Well, then you miss this. Okay, start coming up with ideas yourself. This is by far better here. So I think if we can learn a bit from the way things are executed there in the speed and quality, and then what we can bring from Asia, from here to Asia, is a bit more on creativity. And
okay.
A second point is a belief of entitlement. So this is what I see much stronger here in Europe. So I'm entitled to this, I'm entitled to that, I must have this, and so on. So you see that to a lesser degree in Asia.
Okay, and Chris, obviously coming from the States and being in Europe, what are your perspectives?
Yeah, I mean, I could go on, but I'll pick just one topic that I use a lot of times in employee coaching. I've been working in Europe for 10 years now, and I think that Americans should be more respectful, and the European people, especially in the Ireland office, I think could be a bit less respectful, which sounds like bad advice, but there's an assumption that when a decision is made in California that it was well thought out, and if they didn't invite me to the meeting, they must not want me at the meeting. No, they're probably going so fast, they didn't think about it. So if you want to be at that meeting, get yourself to that meeting. And that would be a very natural instinct for me. So in Europe, I tend to tell people to don't be so respectful. Don't think there's a master plan. Get in there and make things happen for yourself.
Okay, interesting. Now, you're the only female on the panel, right? So I'm going to come back to you just... with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, obviously there's a light shone on the gender pay gap. That's one. Obviously, the Me Too campaign has been huge over the past few years. Is it a good time to be a woman in the world today, and particularly the world of work?
You know, I've been in high tech for 30 years, and I have a simple question that I ask young computer science grads that I meet, and I just asked it 2 weeks ago of a couple of new interns at Workday. When I graduated from engineering school, in a class of 30, there were 5 women. I would bet I'm the only one 30 years on who's still working. And so I had a tremendously enjoyable college time. I learned a lot. I got an engineering degree. I was collaborative with my teammates. What I heard from women 5 to 10 years ago is I'm in engineering school. When there's a group project, I do the whole project myself, because if I have males on the project, they won't let me write any code. They want me to write all the documentation. And I found that heartbreaking to think that after 25 years, that's the situation. I asked a young intern just 2 weeks ago what her situation was. She goes to a top school in the United States, and she said, I do my group projects only with other women, so I get to do the coding myself. And I find that surprising. I really expected that I was in a groundbreaking generation and that things would have changed on the engineering side. So that's a high-tech statement. I would say from a company point of view, I do feel invigorated right now. I showed Robin Sisko, our CFO, and I've worked with Robin. I think the world of Robin. She is authentic. And I go to the senior management team meetings, and I watched her right after her promotion, and I thought, please don't say she got this job because she's a woman. Let me make sure that she's not the figurehead, but the last CFO is really running the show. And I watched Anil in that staff meeting. She sat to his right. He deferred to her on every important decision. She is the real deal. She got it because she deserves it. She is a fantastic CFO. And so I'm invigorated by looking at our senior management team at Workday, which is really gender balanced and balanced with people who deserve to be at the table.
Okay, I mean, for the others, it's funny, I just, we did a quick spin around the data to have a look at you are the best people in Europe, right? The best companies, and out of the 700 odd best companies listed across Europe, under 10% are led by women. So just from your point of view as 3 males leading organizations, is there a pressure on you to actually, accelerate programs to bring women to the top of your organizations? Olivier?
Pressure, no.
Okay.
But a motivation to change it, yes. And it has to start at the highest level of the company and all around the organization. So equality can be one of your company value. It is one of our 4 company value in Salesforce. What does that mean? You asked me a question on equal pays. We thought we were good. When we looked at the data 3 years ago, we discovered we were not so good. The good news is that, boom, we reacted. The president decided to change and to increase a lot of salaries to be equal. Then every 6 months we took the decision to reanalyze the data because we acquire a lot of companies, and we just fixed the gap. Mm-hmm. So, but equality is much more than equal pay, which is super important. Equality is, let's say, having the motivation to create an environment where everybody will dare just say who he or who she is and give the same chances, the same opportunities to everybody with a lot of respect from the rest. So it's a long battle. I am here with Nathalie. The both of us in France, we are owning the equality priority. It's one of our key priority in our business plan. We called our business plan V2M in Salesforce. And we are owner of this priority, and it's so important. We have one key objective. All the employees in France, we'd like them to have at least one metric, only one, related to equality on their own business plan, individual business plan in the company this year. We're working for it. We're working for it. It's a long battle, but we're moving step after step in the right direction. Okay. If I don't believe it, if I'm not sincere, all the employees, they know it like that.
Okay, okay. Pascal, for AbbVie, what has to happen? What has changed? Is there programs in place to try and, is it a cultural thing that needs to change, or what needs to change to let women
good
come
question.
to the top?
First of all, AbbVie being based, it's a multinational pharmaceutical company, biopharmaceutical, based in Chicago, Illinois. And this is by itself, being a Midwest company, one might assume, the stereotype that it's conservative and all that. Not so. But also you need to take into account that the U.S. Founding blocks were, the minorities, they formed, the nation, the U.S. Well, this is not the case in Europe, for instance. You have more homogeneous, the minorities are a small percentage. But that doesn't mean that you don't respect the minorities, or in this case, women, that you give equal opportunities for them to work alongside with men. If you go into the downs, so if you're consciously aware of that this is what you should require as a top management to do in your decision making together with HR, is that it's okay as long as you see that you're about right. Women are not 10%. If they're more than 35, 40%, you're saying, okay, I'm fine. And on the other side, if women are more than 67%, you're not doing something right, because we know genetics are about 50% men, 50% women. So because the left-right brain thinking, this is what adds value to a company, because we're thinking a certain way. This thinking can be challenged by women, and they sit a different perspective. And I've seen so much value being generated through this. And the development plan we have, for people, it's including women, are also for top management. We are also falling. We're not where we should be in terms of general managers, top managerial positions, but we're consciously working so that women can have, that same access. And I refer to Chris, it's the same, like some, like engineers, maybe they're not appealing to women so much. So we need to find, the managerial jobs within the company that are appealing to them so that they can rise, to top managerial levels.
Okay, for DHL, I mean, diversity, everybody's saying it's really important, and obviously with the presentations that were shared, they talked about the certain minorities who, are madly underrepresented. But is the white male going to be positively discriminated against to try and get this right, or how does that work in DHL?
So we don't have any quota or anything, but I personally believe that the more diverse your team, the more efficient it is. I mean, the more people are similar to me, the less output I will get. I'll give you a practical example. So my last team in Singapore was only male. Yeah, and the the discussions and so on would have been by far, far better if we would have had a mix also with female. We have been a mix of different nationalities, different religions, different backgrounds. We had all that, but we didn't have the gender mix. And so whoever would have left, I very likely would have looked to get a female in. So, but we run the numbers, but we don't put any pressure on how you mix your team. It has to be the best person, but also it has to be the best team, and the team should be diverse. I mean, one more point also. I mean, we are in transport business, which is much more male dominated, and I see that often that our couriers are men, our customer service agents are women, and just to get this broken and say a woman can also be a courier, and much more men should also work in a customer service environment. There's still a lot we also have to do.
Okay, so we've got 4 leaders here of organizations. I just want to talk to you a little bit about leadership and how you think it's changed. Is it easier to be a leader now than it was before, or is it harder? Because we had a conference in Ireland, and Giampiero Petligeri, I don't know if you know him, he's from NCAD, and he was just talking about leadership across the board and sort of saying, if you want to know where the power is in any city or the like, just look at the heights of the buildings. It used to be the churches, then it was the castles, and the princes had the power. And right now, all of the power is with big business. They have the tallest buildings, right? And one of the things he was talking about is leadership in the past was kind of easy because you just got a bunch of people around you who were a lot like you. So the similarity piece there, and it's much easier to lead people who are very similar to you. Whereas now he's saying to get the organizational performance that you require, you have to go for diversity. And you have to lead teams who don't think the same way you do. So could you talk to me just a little bit about how you see leadership changing? And is that hard, that you're now actually, you know, it's very easy to lead people who think the exact same way you do, but now you've got to lead people who think completely differently to you. Who'd like to take that? Okay.
It's changed a lot over the past 20, 30 years, and you know, having gray hair, I've seen this change, and you need to respect the X and Y generation. And this is actually, sometimes we're not close to them. So these people, what they're looking for is inspiration. So a leader of today, today's company like AbbVie, or though us in the panel, you need to inspire people. You know, you need, in order to generate engagement from their point of view and commitment, because you are obviously working for productivity, they need to be productive at work, flexible hours and all that, and best place to work. But you need to inspire them that they have a common cause, and what's in it for me, what's my role into, you know, your strategic objective. So through inspiration that you need to instill to them as a leader, you can achieve that common goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to complement what Pascal is saying, I think it's we have to learn from the millenniums. They can, we learn a lot from them, and they don't have the same aspirations than when I was 20 years old, and it's very interesting. Michael and Michael this morning talked a lot about leaders, the new leaders. I think authenticity and sincerity is very important, and everybody very rapidly will judge you about that. I mean, not only the employees again, but the customers, the partners, and it's super important. And then I was thinking of an observation that I'd like to share, which is, in fact, it's no more about line management. And I give you my example, an example that a couple of years ago, when I joined for this company as his job, I realized I was the country leader of a country, a big country, but in fact nobody is reporting to me. Nobody. Absolutely nobody in the executive committee that I lead. I chair this executive committee. Nobody is reporting to me. Okay, interesting. And I thought it was a super opportunity for me to ask myself, to transform that. In fact, that at the beginning I said, wow, it's weird. If nobody is reporting to me, how can I do my job? And then I realized it was a massive opportunity for me to influence people, to have team decisions, team collaboration, but very genuine, because in fact nobody is reporting to me. So I cannot force anybody by my job or my line management to take a decision. They have to believe in it. We have, as a team, it changed completely the way I thought about leadership, and I think it helped me a lot to get it right. Of course, I'm like everybody. I'm doing a lot of mistakes every day, but I'm learning every day. And I think this notion, this is a key change that I have seen in the last 10, 15 years about this notion. I still know in my company some people who are obsessed with line managers. I think they will not last long. I think they will not last long in the company or in any company, by the way.
Because I know DHL have a particular approach to line management, don't you? With the training that you do.
Yeah, two things on that. So we put a lot of effort and money at the moment into the supervisors. So, we also have neglected them a bit over the last year. So those are the most important people leading the frontline troops. So, on leadership in general, I agree, but I think the speed is even faster, not just 10 years ago or 15 years ago. I think what just has started, what I see the last 2 years, and if we look back in 2 years on today, what has changed again is massive, and the speed of change is astronomical. And it's also a question to us leaders, how are we adapting to what's currently going on? Because if you made your MBA 15 years ago, what you learned there's a lot you got to unlearn. There are new techniques out. Yeah, we heard it before, and it's really true. I mean, if you come from this environment, how are you then acting in an agile way? How you apply new techniques and creativity, or even it goes into design thinking. So the changes are massive. The command and control culture or leadership will not get you anywhere today, and that's also where we have to start to rethink, or also think, how can we relearn again and unlearn what many of us have learned. So
what systems have we had in place in organizations that you think the time has come, just ditch it? Good luck. Like performance appraisal, annual sort of bell curve, force distribution, it's anti-talent. Get rid of that one and move to a more sort of 30 minutes of feedback every 30 days. And they're like, what other things in organizations do you sort of as a CEO are going, we're going to have to rip it all up, rip up the rule book?
I just start with two simple ones. So one is, how can you develop a feedback culture? That's what we work on. And the second one, which we now start rolling out globally, is coaching. I mean, proper coaching. So getting away from giving instructions into a different way of enabling people to perform.
Okay. Chris, for you?
Yeah, one that's top of mind for me that's come up several times today is worker flexibility. So what we hear from our employees is they want two things. They want more learning opportunities, which also went to the last session, thank you, and also this worker flexibility. And that's an interesting comparison between high tech in California and in Ireland, because in California it has become this entitlement. I don't even have to tell my manager that I'm working from home today. I'm taking my dog to work, I'm, all these different things. I think the pendulum has swung too far, but I think in Ireland we really have to step up to, it's not a 9-to-5 job in high tech anymore, but what should it be and what should the opportunities be, and how much can you put in the rule book and how much do you allow into your culture? And that's a struggle for us right now as we define where are the boundaries for worker flexibility, and we know it's so important that we have to do it. We have to do it.
So on the other piece, you're saying all lovely things, and I'd love to work for all of you. But in kind of the whole broad, when you look at all the companies across Europe, what you see is this tension. And the tension normally is between the board and the CEO and senior team trying to drive huge performance by cutting numbers of people and trying to get these efficient organizations going. And on the other side, you've got the HR people sort of saying, no, let's be the compassionate people. That tension, how do you guys manage that?
Does this work? Does this? Yeah. Tension. I mean, I don't know. If the leaders have to change, the board have to change also. Okay. Mm-hmm. So these guys have to understand that there is a loop between happy employees, and they understand, by the way, because they are smart. Happy employees, happy partners, happy customers. Engagement is super important. They understand that. I think we are at an exciting time because everybody understands that. So the best board have already understood that, and they're helping the CEOs to help the companies to be transformed. So for me, I don't see a bigger gap between the board and the CEO and the leaders. We are speaking of the same subjects here. Everybody has to be aligned on that. It's fundamental. And when I have the pleasure to speak with some board members of very big companies or small companies, I think they are changing. They are changing, like we are all changing.
Okay.
Yeah, John, you discussed, you are bringing this notion of, the distinction or, the fight between the board and the employees. Well, if they know that they're part of the discussion and you're transparent and you build a relationship of trust with them, they know that sometimes you need to have difficult decisions. But as long as they know that you have done everything, you exhausted all possibilities to make sure that, layoffs are your last resort, that of course management has to come up with at some point in time, they're okay to live with that. They know that if you're consistently showing that you care for them, you trust them, and you exhaust all other possibilities before laying them off, it's okay. And we have also, we sit on the other side that we have one of the lowest voluntary turnover rates, less than 2%, which shows that this is working. And sometimes what we do in Greece, for instance, is that even if we have to, they see that this is a last resort and they have to go, we can find companies to contract employees to work for them, and through that continue the business that it's not profitable anymore. Part of the businesses that we say we cannot afford to have full-time employees, you can go with this contract workforce, work for them. It's okay if you want to continue. If you can find another job, fine, but you have this package, compensation package, that it's good enough to last you for 3 or 4 years. Meaning that, implying that you have a period of time between 3 to 4 years to find something better if you want. But at least the company has provided you a safety net, AbbVie, so that you can continue for 3 or 4 years. And this is appreciated by the employees.
Okay. Looking forward to the future of the workplace, where's it going? What's going to be different in 3, 4, 5 years' time?
I think it's the keywords everybody reads. Everybody has somewhere on his agenda, we need to become fast, we need to become agile, we need to become innovative, and how can we achieve that? So I think one is all collaboration will grow, and people work from everywhere together with everybody online at the same tool. So it's the enablement with technology behind, and a different way of working, much faster. And then I believe around that, all the governance systems have to change. The bureaucracy will or must disappear. Otherwise, you're just too slow. So then I hear that your people are working far more from home already than, for example, we do that. But it has pros and cons. I do it myself at the moment. So when I moved back to Germany, I work 2 days a week. I live in one city and work in another. I work from home, and honestly, I don't like it. I do not like to work from home. I want to be in the office. I want to be with my colleagues, and also at home. Then my wife say, "Don't talk so loud." So I think it has its pros and cons. Maybe if you want to work 1 day from home just because it's convenient or reduce the commuting, but otherwise I believe people have to work with people. I'm also have changed my mind a bit about this, how you call this, free seating places.
Desks, yeah.
I don't believe it works too. Companies love to do it because you can save space. But then, and then the boss also is part of that. But at the end, you go to the same place anyhow every day. So where's the free seating? So a lot of things also where I thought that's the right thing to do in the past. Also, let's go into some.
I think Olivier is either agreeing with you or not. I don't know which. He's just smiling at me.
Yeah? So that's my personal
Is that the same for Salesforce? Do you believe that?
Yeah, I think it's very complex subjects. We have to. The balance is different between the life and the work-life balance and to find the right balance. And when you speak to young people, they are not expecting the same at the office than when I was young. So we have to take that into account in a respect and trust environment, because if there is no trust, I mean, every time I'm listening to you, if there is no trust, it will not work.
Sure.
If there is trust at the beginning, it can work. Because there is no negative feedback when there is trust. There is only constructive feedback. So on these subjects, I think everybody is testing some stuff to have different, in order to have the employees happy to come at work, happy to work. Means sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. You have to accept to go backwards and to go in another direction, speak with employees, listen to employees, and we will find the right solution for the workspace to be exactly where they are happy to be and happy to come and happy to work differently. The technology is bringing a new word in which we have to learn how to work together differently. And it's enormous. It's enormous because apparently in all the companies before it was, or it is still in a lot of them, silos. Sales are not speaking to service. They are not speaking to research. They are not speaking to field sales. They are not speaking to marketing. Unbelievable. Unbelievable how siloed we are in the companies. We have a lot to do to help people, and the techno can help, but not only the techno, the culture, the trust to work together. And the workspace is a key element.
In your own companies, we talk about practices, obviously, from a great place to work world of, inspiring speaking all the way through to sharing. What would your favorite practice, let's start with you, Chris, in Workday, what do you do that you think is kind of a little bit unique and different that people can actually kind of look to and kind of go, not copy, but be inspired by?
I think I shared a lot, I hope, anyway. But I was trying to think of something more. I think just being highly engaged with employees, I don't think it's necessarily unique. It's so common sense. But, if I see Dave Duffield, I get a big American bear hug, and how are you, and how's your husband, and all of that. And somebody said to me when I walk around the Dublin office, which is about 900 people now, I'm engaging, I'm talking. How's your baby? Are you just back from holidays? And just that, not that hierarchical management, but that really engaged management. I work for them. They don't work for me. And I think that's a real distinction. And maybe I come from a blue-collar family and blue-collar roots. I just hired a new executive assistant, and I said, the funnel is company, this site, and me. It's not me and everybody else second. And I think that's a really important thing to just keep and always practice. And I practice it because I learned it from Dave, and I saw what an impact it had on me.
Do you know all 900 people?
No, but if you just go with a Connor or a...
Yeah.
you can hit at most of them with a lot of the names. But I do remember a lot.
Okay.
Because people are friendly.
Yeah. Great. For DHL, favorite practice?
I would say my favorite practice, because there are many, is appreciation. And which goes along with celebration. So we have a bit of work hard, party hard culture, but we force ourselves to celebrate whenever we can, and even if it's just small successes. And celebration does not always mean you go out and eat lobster or something. It's just having a cake together, going on the side, saying you did that good, we did that good. That project is finished.
And just before we started, you were saying that the employer brand was played out very well when you were celebrating as a team.
Yeah. That was my farewell from Dubai. So we like to celebrate, work hard, and then when we make a bit of money, we also spend it on ourselves. And so it was farewell with about 100 people, and people did not know we are from DHL. But somebody came and said, "I don't know which company you are, but the way you party, I want to join you."
So, Pascal?
Well, at a global level, we put a lot of attention to development of our people. People see they have a career. People see that they have a future with this company. That's why you build loyalty, and that you do actually care for them. So there is a lot of emphasis on that. What I do on a daily basis, something I feel it's not ordinary, is I try to have one-to-one meetings with all employees, informal meetings. If they feel okay to go outside the office, fine. We go, to a nearby cafe and we sit. And then, at first, they feel kind of awkward. But then, because I've done it quite a few times, then they feel relaxed, and you learn so much. As long as you don't keep notes, you have mental notes, even from the receptionist, which is sometimes you ignore. People that they have information that is so valuable for you, for your decision making, and how people think about the company. So I got valuable lessons through that, habit.
Okay, and Salesforce.
Yeah, it was listening with fascination, yeah? Listening with fascination and humility. On my side, because speed is definitely a key element in all our businesses, whether we're very small or very big, speed is a constant, yeah? So it's always very difficult to understand where are the real priorities. So I'd like to share with you one element from my company where it helps us to understand what are the priorities. The business plan, we call it V2MOM. So the number one of the company in the first week of the year is inviting 400 VPs, but we have 25,000 people online, just listening to his business plan and feedback. And I can tell you, at the end of day 3, he has taken into account a lot of feedbacks from a lot of people all around the world. And at the end of the week, this is the business plan of the company. And in 2 months, everybody has to do his own business plan in the company, 30,000 employees. But this business plan, we call it V2MOM. I don't have enough time to detail exactly, but then after the session, I can spend whatever time you want with whoever here if you have questions.
Sure.
We share it in our iPhone or our system. If Natalie wants to see me for a meeting, in fact, she can see in the mobile, and it's total transparency, what are my priorities for the year, what are the 20 indicators that we have defined to measure the success of the business plan, and where I am in each of the metrics. It's open to the entire population, 30,000 transparent business plans. And of course, she can think of, is the subject I want to discuss with Olivier is linked to one of the priority of the business plan. If the answer is no, she knows that we will not spend a lot of time. Okay. If the answer is yes, she knows she will have more attention. So this notion of sharing always in a total transparent manner, in real time, the business plan of everybody in the company, I love it. It helps me a lot to be more efficient. So I'm happy to share.
Okay, great. Just 2 kind of more questions, I think, just before we finish. Swapping it around. So we've talked about what the organizations do to kind of create these great workplaces. What are you looking for from employees right now? What would you like to see employees dial up with what they're coming to the workplace with?
I just talked, so maybe somebody else has to talk. No?
Well, you go again, because nobody seems to be...
Well, I want the engagement that translates into business results. And I get that because I let them innovate. And they've won so many awards, I let them, do their own thing, they submit them. So they get pride from what they do. And this means there's a conscious decision from upper management to let them, to delegate, empower the people, so they know they're part of the decision making and part what you mentioned, Olivier, of the strategic planning. So the strategic planning is built at that level. So the company is taking the strategic plan, the global, to areas, to affiliates, so that it's been executed.
So do you want them to be more commercial?
Well, it doesn't mean commercial, because you have medical, you have customer excellence, you have government affairs, public affairs. So all of them, we have an open space. It's nothing unusual. Many work in open space, but we're flexible enough to realize if it's you need to go somewhere, and work with a team. You have a space to, confine yourselves into that a specific area and work closely with a team. So the cross-functional collaboration and the decision-making, inverting the pyramid, like Chris, you mentioned, not top-down but bottom-up, really works.
Okay. I would tell them that respect is super important, and number one. I mean, they have to respect everybody to be able to, and we have to help them to how to listen with fascination, and to keep their beginner mentality will be my second advice. Keep your fresh mind. Don't take as a grant that we cannot change. I mean, with your ideas, we will be able to progress every single day. Keep your beginner's mentality. We're 30,000 people in this company today. We will be 50,000 soon. I think we're the biggest startup in the world. And it's super cool.
Okay, cool. Chris?
Yeah, I would play on just that very same sentiment. You know, when I first went to Ireland and I was working with a recruiter, and he would send me people, and he was trying to figure out what I was looking for. And he said, I think I've figured out what you want. He said, you want entrepreneurialism. You want people who are self-starters, who'll think on their own, who will solve problems, who won't just accept what you're saying. And so I still think that's what we're looking for today. But with the collaborative element, with caring about the company and caring about the site. So I travel a lot now in and out of the Ireland office, and I see events. We just did a Women in Technology event for students. We had a charity drive where people bicycled for the whole day. I'm not involved in any of them. All we did was create an environment where people could have a good idea, work together and execute it. And that's what I love to see. It's not that, you know, somebody approved. I didn't approve anything. People just decided to do it because it's in the spirit of the values that we have for the office. So if we can keep that, you know, in our industry, there are some very big players, and we still consider ourselves a small player. We still act like that hungry small player who's trying to win, you know, David and Goliath. We're still trying. And that spirit I never want to lose. So I look for that in people. Do you bring that to the table?
Okay, and for DHL, what are you looking for?
I think it's easy with new hires and with your high flyers. You know? You just pick the people that fit whatever you're looking for at the moment. But the question is, what about the other 100,000 people which are with you for a couple of years and will stay with you for a couple of years? And there, my recommendation would be, what are you doing yourself to continue learning and understanding what's going on? So do not only rely on the company to come with training and change programs, but also look after yourself and you know, remain relevant.
Okay, remain relevant. One final question. It is generally CEO, but a lot of HR people in the room. What advice would you give to the HR community in terms of you're at the CEO level, leadership level? How do you think we can all perform better?
I start. Okay, because that's actually discussions I'm having with HR. And I'm coming really into all those changes that are happening. So which role does HR play in helping to shape the organization? Bring new skills in, bring new behaviors, and help to change mindset. And I don't want to put out digital transformation or something, but we need to change. And which role does HR play in this change? Will HR just wait till the strategy is there and then execute a strategy? Or will HR take an active role in shaping the future, especially on the people side? And at the end, everything is about people.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and go, just so we can pass back.
Yeah.
So because of the product we sell, this is a very important question because this is the business that we're in. And I think we do a good job on learning, and I think that, based on the last speaker, that to me is what I want our company to be known for and what I want HR to create for us is the learning and the development. I'd say the other challenge right now, especially in high tech, because of the people with the slides and things like that, you know, I think somehow HR has gotten and thinks their thing is to make sure everyone's comfortable and having a good time and getting a T-shirt every day and free food. I don't think that's what keeps great employees motivated. I think it is the learning, the training, the integrity, the attention to detail, the career growth. And so that's what I want our HR departments to work on now is get us to become a better company by investing in that learning and training and development and career opportunities. That's what people want.
Great. Pascal?
Yes, John, really, I mentioned it, but I try to put everything together, like the trust, the transparency, the development plans of employees, the ability to make their own decision-making, but truly there is shortage of talent. And HR and myself and across Europe and globally, we're looking for people that are willing to commit to themselves for a few years with us and maybe more if it's okay with us, the loyalty factor. But there is shortage of talent in terms of, you know, being able to bring in and commit themselves to our common, you know, goals and because we have a strong culture. And we want people with different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different mentalities to accept this culture and grow together. So the message to HR is look for that talent. We provide a good place to work. In fact, in Europe we were number 4 last time. In Greece we're number 1, number 2, number 3. So the last 5 years after the spin-off, so obviously we're doing something right. We sell the number 1 pharmaceutical on a global scale. I cannot allow to say the name, but so obviously we're doing something right, and this is because of the people.
Okay. And finally.
Yeah, so in my executive committee in France, we are 9, 4 women, 5 men, by the way. And if you ask me which one is the most important, I would say HR. My most important partner is HR, because I think first HR has a new role to play. They have to embrace the value of the company and to help all the managers to become the HR managers of their own team. And in fact, they are, I think, the employee success or employee satisfaction partners. It's why, by the way, in our company, we have rebaptized HR into employee success. They are employee success managers. They are employee success partners. And they have to explain and to embrace and to embrace the value of the company and to explain to every single manager what the tools do we have in the company to help them to do a good job, and then to help and motivate all the people managers to be good HR managers. Yeah, so it's a complete different role than 5 or 6 years ago, or even 2 years ago. And I think they are becoming the most important partners for the CEOs.
And to me, it sounds like as if the middle line manager has a lot of a big role to play in the future of work. Listen, to all of you, thank you very much for the time and thoughts on this. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Well done.
Thank you.